During my trip back to the upstream region of Anfu, in Jiang Province, during the flood season, I had the opportunity to see again the dried strings hanging in front of the porch to catch the sun. It had been a long time since that image first caught my eye, as if reminding me of the memories of the rustic dishes that had been closely associated with my childhood: dried field fish. Fish stewed with pepper. Growing up in the days when life was still difficult, my childhood and that of my friends of the same age consisted only of days wandering in the distant fields to catch crickets, fly kites, bathe in the river, or pick local fruits to fill our stomachs. However, I think I am a lucky person, because I had a complete childhood with my mother's home-cooked meals, with rustic, simple dishes of the alluvial land. Those were also the days when I came home from playing, stopped by the kitchen, and rummaged through cold rice to eat with dried field fish that had become memories. Back then, when the water level rose so high that the fields were white, people only needed a net or a fishing net to get through several months of flooded land. At that time, the biggest worry of the Western people was the rice jar. With rice, people would just go to the lowland or the ditch near their house to spread a net. And somehow there would be a pan of fish stewed with pepper, spicy to get through a poor meal. If they were a little more diligent, the men would go to the distant fields to spread nets and cast nets. And there would be enough fish to make fish sauce, to dry fish stewed with pepper. At that time, the most obvious were dried snakehead fish, goby fish, and loach fish. During the months of flooding, every few days my uncle would pull his boat in to throw in a bunch of snakehead fish. He put a lot of sticky fish in the trap. He would sell a bunch, and give the rest to his relatives to dry. With fish, my mother would choose the big ones to stew with pepper, cook sour soup, and the hard, snakehead fish bigger than 2 fingers would be cut into pieces and dried. The dangling strings of dried fish gave off a bad smell, but after a few days of sun, they looked very delicious. Dried fish was a lifesaver for my family on rainy days when my father could not go out to find fresh fish to eat. Every morning, my brothers and I would dig up cold rice to eat with dried freshwater fish before going to school. The dried pieces grilled over a red-hot charcoal fire, emitting a rustic aroma, awakened our hungry stomachs. When we were young, just having a salty dish to eat with rice early in the morning was delicious. There weren't many choices like now. My brothers and I grew up through each flood season, and also the same number of dry freshwater fish seasons. The older we got, the rarer we found dried freshwater fish. Now, dried freshwater fish has become a specialty. Not many people can buy dried freshwater fish, then string them on skewers and dry them in the sun in front of their house like many years ago. Perhaps it is in the upstream areas such as Anfu District, Tan Chau Town, or the border fields in Tin Bien Town, Chao Doc City. The day I visited my friend who is a fisherman in Vinh Tay Commune, Chao Doc City, I was treated to some dried catfish and loach that I will always remember. For this friend, it is not difficult to get dried freshwater fish. Every year during the flood season, he would make a few skewers to save for food or to treat friends from far away. The charcoal fire was glowing red, exhaling heat onto the hard-working face, blackened by the sun and wind. A few dried fish were placed on the stove, bending under the heat of the fire. The burnt, fragrant smell of memories rushed back to my mind. People only truly remember their childhood when they relive a part of it. Me too. Knowing that the dried fish was lightly salted, my friend poured another cup of fish sauce, then enthusiastically said, "The dried fish is lightly salted so that many people can eat it. If you like it salty, dip it in fish sauce." I tore off a piece of dried fish and put it in my mouth. A little taste of my youth was still there. Following the life of making a living, absorbed in crowded places. My eyes were shallow, my smile was shallow. Seeing a piece of dried fish again was so delicious. Now, dried fish has become a specialty. People process it to serve the needs of diners from far away. In the dry land of Vinh Hoi Dong, in Phu District, the flood season brings in large quantities of freshwater fish, which are exploited by fishermen to make famous dried fish. People still use the traditional processing method, only adding vacuum sealing for better preservation and suitable as gifts. In Vinh Hoi Dong, there are all kinds of dried fish, from dried fish, loach, catfish, chot fish to dried snakes, dried pythons and many other types. Gourmets will definitely have to come to this border area to enjoy this typical Western specialty. Since the flood season has contradicted the nature and temperament, freshwater fish have gradually become scarce, so drying fish has become more and more luxurious. However, the households that dry fish in Vinh Hoi Dong still have a source of dried fish to supply to the market, although their raw materials are all taken from nature. When the flood season comes, it is also the time when the households that dry fish here start the drying season to celebrate Tet. Braised fish with pepper is considered the culinary essence of the Vietnamese people. The dish has eye-catching colors, soft and fragrant fish meat and rich sauce. The more you eat, the more attractive it becomes. Delicious and standard braised fish dishes that make diners remember forever. Braised fish with pepper is a delicious, easy-to-prepare dish often found on the dinner table of Vietnamese families. The most flavorful and easy-to-make braised fish with pepper. In addition to the usual spices, braised snakehead fish with standard southern flavor will add coconut water to increase the richness. After that, the fish will be braised over a low heat until it thickens. Then turn off the stove. Sprinkle onions and pepper on top to create a fragrant aroma. To make the dish more delicious, you should choose fresh fish, long and firm. The ideal braising time is about 20 to 30 minutes for the spices to penetrate every fiber of the meat but not lose the fat. The finished braised fish with pepper has a beautiful brown color. Each piece of meat is thick and mixed with the sauce, making everyone want to enjoy it. When eating, you will feel the chewy and fragrant snakehead fish meat mixed with salty, sweet, spicy, fatty flavors that stimulate the taste buds. You can eat braised snakehead fish with hot white rice and boiled vegetables to reduce the feeling of fullness.